And I feel like it's up to us white males to use our safety and privilege.
Yep.
And like, for me, I feel like people are always, I get asked this question a lot, like, why are you always talking about race? Like, why do you always like talk about the impact of things on Black women in particular? It's like, well, I'm married to a Black woman.
Yep.
My child is a Black woman, half Black woman, like, or girl, but she will be, and this is the world that she has to live in.
PEP Radio is a part of the Pennsylvania Equality Project that plays music, news, and weather, actively advocating for the LGBTQ+ and disabled since 2024.
PEP Radio, available on Live 365, Roku, Alexa, and at paquality.com.
Here at Gay SA Radio, we're very happy to welcome the Othering podcast to our airwaves. Catch the show every Thursday at noon CAT, bringing fresh voices and compelling conversations straight to you.
Head over to gsaradio.stream to find out how you can tune in and become part of our family. Don't miss it, only on Gay SA Radio, where you are family.
Gay Hive Magazine, all about the buzz of content for our community. Our content is like no other. It's all about being real, honest, and raw.
We're always looking for new reoccurring content for the magazine and regular content writers for our website. Gay Hive is currently seeking sponsors. Email hushmagazine001@gmail.com for details.
Gay Hive Magazine, all the buzz.
One man and one woman join forces to rid the world
What are you doing?
of inequality and fascism.
Seriously?
I'm trying I'm trying to do a promo here.
For whom? What are you doing?
Welcome to the Othering Podcast with Mike and Dory.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Good. How are
Good,
you?
how are I am so
you hear me
excited.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, you sound
Okay,
good.
cool.
All right, today we are talking to Dom Kelly. Dom is the founder and CEO of New Disabled South and is a lifelong disability advocate with cerebral palsy. He is a celebrated movement leader, organizer, writer, and speaker, as well as a former musician who has recorded and toured with artists like Indigo Girls, Joan Baez, I knew that, and Toad the Wet Sprocket, and more. He holds multiple degrees, including a Master of Science in Nonprofit Leadership from the University of Pennsylvania. Dom is a 2025 Atlantic Fellow for Health Equity, a 2024 Rockwood Fellow, and a 2023 J.M. Kaplan Innovation Prize winner. His writing has been published in Teen Vogue, The Hill, In These Times, and more. And he's been featured on NPR, Sky News, Forbes, and Today. He's also been a featured speaker at SXSW, Netroots Nation, Disability Summer School in Galway, Ireland, and Mazfest in Barcelona, Spain, among others. He lives in Atlanta with his wife and daughter. Welcome, Dom.
Yes.
It's great to have you.
It is great and awesome.
It's so good to be here. So excited to talk to y'all.
That's quite an impressive resume you
Yes.
have there.
Thank you. It's always weird when people read the bio. I don't know why. It makes me uncomfortable. but then when they say he lives in Atlanta with his wife and daughter, I get very happy.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't really enjoy reading about myself or anything. It's just like, yeah, that happened. Okay, let's talk about family or something.
Yeah.
So your experience on tour with the Indigo Girls and all the other big bands, was that before your disability advocacy or in conjunction with?
In conjunction with it.
Okay.
I would say, yeah, I would say I started at my advocacy journey long before I was getting paid for it. So my I'm a triplet, and my brothers and I all have cerebral palsy. So my mom, I remember we were like 4 years old, like put us in front of a auditorium of high school seniors and said, "You're going to tell your story. Good luck," basically. Which is maybe a little bit of an exaggeration, but it felt like that. It was just kind of like, here you go. But her intention was, and she would say this a lot, like, you need to know how to tell your own story before someone else tries to tell it for you. And I think that was the start. And then, did really mostly advocacy in the town I grew up in our school district, and helped kind of form a program to teach other kids about disability, and did that through middle school and into high school. And then my brothers and I did our band together, and we were homeschooled in high school. And so I was touring and doing music, and also advocacy, and in ways that were explicit advocacy, in ways that I didn't know I was being an advocate. So it was it's always been a part of my life, really, as far back as I can remember.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
To have your mother be able to kind of instill in you, you have to share your story before somebody else shares it for you. And I like that sentiment too, because, we don't always get a chance to say who we are and what we are and how we fit into things until we're much older. And having that sense of self at an earlier age, of course, you go through the same shit of, what do I do here or what do I do there? But it's kind of nice knowing who you are at an earlier age than trying to discover it at like my age, 48. Because you get to then live life knowing who you are.
Yeah. And I think, I continue to go through the normal, I think, like figuring out who I am, what I like, all of the normal stuff. And you're right. It's also really, really incredible to just have a sense of, at least at the very least, I know who I am as a disabled person, and I can be proud of it, and also go through all of the things that you go through as a disabled kid, which I think are normal, and the times where you don't want to be disabled, and I went through all that stuff. And yeah, but I was very lucky to have parents who, even not knowing what they were, I don't think that they knew they were doing this explicitly, but really instilled in us like a sense of identity with our disability, and it also helped to have my triplet brothers having the same experience, because we could have that bonding together.
So with all that being said, and maybe this already answers my question, but you said at the age of 4 you were put in an auditorium in front of a bunch of people. Would you say that was good for you now looking back, or was that more traumatizing for you looking back?
I'll be a little trauma, but
I'll imagine.
I would say like mostly good for me. I think people are always wonder how I feel comfortable public speaking. My wife in particular, like, she is not somebody who enjoys public speaking.
Me too.
Also, she would never be on a podcast. Like, she is just like she doesn't want to be perceived most of the time, and so she's always like, how are you so comfortable with it? Like, how do you write a speech like 2 hours before you go on, that kind of thing? I think because I've just been doing it since I was a kid. I also have a stutter, and I think it's part of my CP, but there were times where I definitely had moments where I felt self-conscious because of that, and made me not want to speak as much, but I think just having that experience so early of like having to do it, and seeing and hearing the change in like kids I grew up with, and how they interacted with not just me and my brothers, but like other disabled kids, like that helped me feel more comfortable and confident as I got older. And so it definitely has helped me. It's helped shape who I am, and also like made me realize this is something I really enjoy doing. more than the trauma, the little bit of trauma.
That's good. And I kind of was hoping you would say that more than the trauma, because that makes sense. Once you get into it young, you can manage it better as an adult. But I've always been terrified of public speaking, and I think that primarily comes from the bullying. So I have a big concern of what other people think. I can do this because I'm not public speaking. I'm just talking to you on a phone call. So this is no problem. What people hear later, I don't think about. So it's completely different. But I can't stand in front of an auditorium and talk comfortably. I'd be shaking like crazy.
It's tough. It is tough. Yeah.
It is. I always think of it as in terms of I'm playing a role and I have to share whatever knowledge I'm sharing, whether it's teaching my students about how to use technology or teaching people how to kind of use their phones. And so I just think of it in terms of I'm in a role and that's how I can do it. Otherwise, sharing who I am is always like, people aren't going to like you in the back of my head. And it's like, you're too much, or you don't shut up, or whatever kind of thing. And it just pops in my head. And it's not like I necessarily care what people think, but at the same time, you do. And it's hard.
I think most people do. If I think anyone who says they absolutely do not care at all what anybody thinks, I think is probably lying. Like, there's some level of that for everybody, and I still I still care about it. There are I think situations where I no longer care about it, like especially when it comes to my political views, and I've ruffled feathers. I've offended people who, frankly, shouldn't be offended by things like queer people deserve rights. Like that shouldn't be offensive, right?
No,
but but I think when I was younger, I would kind of have to pick. I would pick and choose where I would say things and how I would say them. And now I guess I'm in this place in my life where in that way I'm like, I don't really care. If they don't want to talk to me again, then that's their problem, not mine. And I don't feel that way about everything that I'd say and do, because I do care a lot. But when it comes to politics, and not even just politics, like basic rights, and I don't care. I don't care if it bothers people or if they don't want to be in my life anymore. It's like, that's not my problem.
And for me, I feel like social media makes it much easier to say that and not be so worried about how other people feel about it.
Totally. Yeah.
Well, I see it as, if you share your politics, which is an important thing to do, especially nowadays, it allows you to know who's safe. It allows you to know that, especially when you're disabled or any of the other marginalized communities, or if you're all of them, it's much better to know where that person is on the spectrum, so to speak, of politics, because then you can feel safe and secure. And feeling unsafe is awful.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to end a relationship with my father for there were complexities outside of just politics and social justice and human rights, which are, to me, non-negotiables. But yeah, it really, the thing that brought an end to it was that this was not a safe relationship for not only just me but my family, and and I feel so much peace now, also having tried to maintain a relationship for much longer than other people in my life did, and then realized safety is paramount, and it's not just about aligning views. It's do I feel comfortable bringing my child around this person or these people, or whoever it is? So yeah, it is, and it's a tough moment to have to make those decisions when there's polarization. But I feel like because of that, at least from my vantage point, I feel like we get to really learn about people in a way that maybe we wouldn't have. And I'm glad I have this information, because now I get to make choices based off that information. So thank you for showing your whole ass, because now I get to say never, no way.
And I agree. I hate the fact that it has become so polarized of you're either with us or against us type of thing, but it is non-negotiable. Everybody deserves rights. Everybody deserves to have a home where they're safe, and everybody deserves to feel like they belong somewhere, not just arbitrarily. Not every 4 years you have to bite your nails and hope to God that they decide that you're worthy of being where you are. That's bullshit. That shouldn't be the case of anywhere.
Right.
But unfortunately, it is. And the more I know and see, the better it is for my children and me.
Yes.
And I was not trying to rhyme, but it just did. But I just want to be able to know that I'm safe, that my children are safe. That's my, big thing, and Mike's safe too.
I'm a white male. I'm always going to be safe.
Yeah, pretty much. But at the same
And
time,
I know that.
At the same time, though, you're not, because you're associated with me.
Yeah.
You're associated with your children.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be the case either.
Right.
It shouldn't matter what we do, what we look, well, it shouldn't matter what we do as long as it's legal. And it shouldn't matter what we look like.
Yep. And I feel like it's up to us white males to use our safety and privilege.
Yep.
And like, I mean, for me, I feel like people are always, I get asked this question a lot, like, why are you always talking about race? Like, why do you always like talk about the impact of things on Black women in particular? It's like, well, I'm married to a Black woman.
Yep.
My child is a Black woman, half Black woman, like, or girl, but she will be. And this is the world that she has to live in. And isn't it my responsibility as a spouse and a father to help make a better world for my people? Like,
Exactly.
isn't that what I'm supposed to do? So it's like, to me, I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to talk about this. But then I always have to remind myself that, like, I am safe, relatively safe, even being disabled. And like, what am I going to do with that safety?
Right.
Like, I'm going to put my body on the line at a protest when other people can't, because, like, yeah, sure, maybe I would get arrested. And, like, I am a white dude, like,
Yep.
my getting arrested at a protest is going to impact my life way differently than if my wife did, or if my father-in-law or mother-in-law or whoever did. Like, so yeah, I'm with you. It's like we got to use that safety and privilege to fight for our folks.
And like you said earlier, that's one of those things that people get offended by when they shouldn't. I had posted a video about that a couple months ago, and it like went viral on Facebook, and probably 40% of the comments were nasty comments. People don't believe that white men have privilege. I don't know how the hell you don't believe that. And people think that it's just, I don't know, it's insulting somehow, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, it goes back to racism days. Obviously, we have privilege. It's systemic in the U.S. Of course we do.
Yeah, I do wonder how you can put your head in the sand so far that you don't realize who has privilege over what. I mean, I have not been around the world, and, I haven't been here for centuries, obviously. I'd look pretty damn good if I was, but I still know that I have privilege over certain people because I'm lighter skinned, because I'm a female. So I have more power and privilege than those that are darker skinned than me, or that are male and darker skinned than me. And I want to use that privilege to make it so that those people don't have to be categorized as darker skinned or a different gender. I don't want that, because that's bullshit. It doesn't matter. If you're a bad person, you're a bad person. It doesn't matter what color you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's not like, somebody has the corner market on being an asshole. Everybody has that potential.
I don't know. There is one guy I can think of that
Well,
might
yeah.
corner the
Yeah,
market on that.
Yeah, there is true. Those of us that are normal people don't corner the market based on, our skin tone or anything. And so if I know I have privilege, how the fuck can you be a white male and not know that? Not see it?
I always hear this thing. Pretty sure my dad has said it before. I don't have. What privilege do I come from? Like, I'm using him as an example, not, but like this is a widespread sentiment. It's like, my parents are immigrants from Ireland. My grandparents came from Ireland, and we didn't have anything growing up. We were lived in poverty. Like, that's not privilege. And it's like, how, like, it's just being willfully obtuse. It's like, you know that's not what we're saying. Like, we're not saying that you didn't live in poverty or that you had it easy. We're saying that the color of your skin, your race, gives you more privileges and opportunity than other people. It's like, but so to me, it's like it's not even a lack of understanding. I think with a lot of people, it's just like a willful ignorance, yes, and like stubbornness, maybe, like, just to prove a point. And at this point in my life, it's why I'm just like, I don't even want to debate this with people anymore. I refuse to engage on social media with people with comments like that. I'm like, I'm not giving it my time and attention, because you know exactly what we're talking about, and you don't want to acknowledge it, and that's not my problem anymore.
Right. And for the people that just honestly don't understand, it's not saying that you didn't struggle. It's not saying that you didn't work for what you have. It's saying that your skin color didn't negate being able to do things. You weren't not given a job because you're white. You weren't not given that house because you're white. You were able to live in any neighborhood you want, even though you maybe have been poor, but now you're wealthy. And, so you can live wherever you want. As a Black person or any other minority, even if we're wealthy, for the longest time, we still had to live in certain areas because that was the only place you were allowed to.
Yep. And you could be a Black person with wealth and walk into a grocery store and no one knows you have wealth, and you could be you can experience racism because to anybody else you're that's just your Blackness, and that's the thing that makes me so mad about white people who stay stuck in this ignorance. It's like you don't know what that experience is like. I don't know what that experience is like. I've seen it with my wife firsthand, and her entire family. I've seen it firsthand, but I don't know what that's like. And that's called privilege. That's a privilege to not have to know what it's like for people to look at you and think you're stealing something because of your hairstyle or whatever it is. Like, I've never literally have ever had to think about people thinking I might be stealing something or whatever it is. Like, that's not something that's ever crossed my own mind, because that's called a privilege. So we're on the same page, and this is the stuff that like gets me heated.
It gets me angry too, because because of my privilege, I don't have to worry about when I get pulled over as much as somebody else would have to worry about it. I am less likely to be shot first and then asked questions later, because I can speak, because I am a female, because I am lighter skinned. Those are privileges. And yet I still have to worry about those at the same time, because there's always, some people that just are trigger happy. They see brown or Black and they're just like, shoot first, ask questions later. And that just pisses me off, that people don't want to recognize that, or don't want to see it and want to believe that this whole world is just this great kumbaya moment. And not only is it an awful song, but but that does not negate the centuries and current racism that is rampant, especially here in America. And it's not to say that we are the only country. Of course we're not. But we're the only one that systemically sticks their head in the sand and refuses to do anything about it. I mean, like, it pisses me off that we could have had universal health care, just like every other industrialized nation. We could have had better school systems, just like every other industrialized nation. But because our racism was so rampant, we would rather have nothing than see a brown or Black person have something. And it boggles my mind, that level of jealousy to hatred that it is. And it's like, I want to strangle them, not to death, of course, but because I don't want to go to jail. I'm too cute. But I just want to strangle them and make them see at how we could have had so much better if you just stopped licking the anus of these racists.
Yeah, but it's always it's always going to be what benefit, like we don't want it to benefit everybody. We just want the benefit for ourselves, and that's what it's unfortunately. But I just feel like there has to be a tipping point here, like, and I feel like we're getting closer and closer in ways, like more people with class consciousness now than I think ever before. They're seeing like these billionaires and corporations, like, so hopefully if that can be like an entry point for us to teach people about, you know, how to be anti-racist and white privilege and all those things too, because I don't think we can like have class consciousness without dismantling systemic racism, but like I do feel like it's gonna get to a boiling point, because it's not, we can't keep going like this where people are like dying because they don't have health care, and they keep denying the opportunity to give people health care in favor of whiteness and, you know, anti-blackness and, you know, all of the things. So I have to like hold on to hope that even if it means all the systems fall apart and we got to build some new stuff, like I feel like we're gonna get there. Every day it feels like it's collapsing a little more. So as scary as it is, I'm like, all right, let's do this, because there's a lot of brilliant people with a lot of brilliant ideas, and we can build some really cool shit together.
Yeah, we could.
And I feel like a lot of the people that were on the wrong side, the worse it gets, the more they see, oh shit, that's not what I was thinking this was, and the more they're kind of coming over. And it's a little too late at this point. I don't really forgive them, but they're coming back because they see this is not good.
And I do have hope for that, because I know that for some people, to be fair, I know that some people just don't understand things until it happens. And I get that. Sometimes it is hard to understand certain things until it happens to you, because it's always in the abstract, or it happens to somebody else. And until it happens to you, you don't get it. But at the same time, we told you so. And it shouldn't have to happen to you before it wakes you up. You shouldn't want it to happen to you before it wakes you up and says, you know what, I don't want this. This is awful. And I mean, I think we are hitting that extinction burst of the bronyism and this god-awful suck every last bit of juice out of every single person capitalism. And, you know, we're moving away from that because we have to.
Yep, we have to. Absolutely.
And also because of social media, I think as detrimental as it is and has caused such harm, at the same time because of it, it's making it impossible to go back to how it was, because too many people are saying this is not right.
It's making it impossible to be quiet.
Yes.
That's
yes.
just great.
And you can't really open that door and close it again. Like once you open the door, people know what they know. For better or worse, but in this case I think it is both. Like it's bad, and like more people are being radicalized, for lack of a better term. Like I think people are starting to wake up.
And like, for instance, part of the reason why the civil rights movement was so successful was part of it was televised for the first time. People saw policemen going up to black people and hosing them with awful fireman hoses and sicking dogs on them. And people were like, this is what's going on? And that's what changed the tide for a lot of people. And, you know, that's what also made war not so wonderful anymore, because we saw it on Vietnam. We saw the atrocities. And you can't sit there and say, oh, yeah, we want this. You can't. Because it can be turned back onto us at any moment. And so, you know, you see those things and it can't be undone. It can't go back into the shadows. And the more that shit keeps coming out about women's rights and, trans rights and all of those things, the more people learn, the harder it is going to be to go back to that time frame. You can ban the books all you fucking want, but we still have access to them.
Right.
That's right. They're still there. Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
And it's really sad how easy it is to not see it. I grew up in Ohio, Midwest, white, central, and being with her and over in Pennsylvania on the coast, we lived in New Jersey for a little bit, whole different world. And it's so easy to miss it and to not see it and to not understand it. And it shouldn't be that easy to not get it.
Absolutely.
And where's everybody's curiosity? I mean, how do you not have curiosity to know what's going on in your backyard?
People want to bury their heads in the sand and, everything's fine, everything's normal. I don't watch the news. I don't pay. It's like, I love, I don't know who said it first, but that that response to I don't do politics is like, well, politics can do you.
Yes.
It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
You cannot ignore it forever.
And I remember being a kid in the 90s and a teenager and thinking, you know what, politics sucks. I don't want to deal with this. And at that time, because I was a kid, I could ignore it because my parents were the ones that were taking care of it, because they were, watching out and making sure that I was safe and unharmed. And I love the fact that I was able to be as well as possible. It's hard being a person of color, but have that moment of safety and not have to worry about so much the outside. But when you don't have that apprehension every 4 years of, are they going to elect somebody that's going to take everything from me because I had the nerve to be born brown?
Yep.
And it's awful feeling, and it's not at all enjoyable. And that's why I feel like Irish people and Jews and Muslims were so together with Black people, because all of us knew exactly what it was like to belong in a country but not belong. Because how dare you be Irish? How dare you be Jewish? How dare you be brown? What is wrong with you? Why would you do that to yourself? Type of thing. Like, we all had a choice. And it's that language that kind of unites everybody. And that's why they tried so hard to separate us again and included Jews and Irish people as white when before they weren't.
Yep. And then how it makes me sad how we seem to forget that now, that because whiteness is so attractive, and proximity to whiteness is so attractive, it is it's for some reason. And I'm Irish, Ashkenazi Jewish, and Italian, and I feel like there are people in all of those groups that I belong to, who seem to love to forget our own history, and will side with white supremacy every time, and not be in the collective liberation movement, when not that long ago, in our own history, we were facing similar, not the same, but similar circumstances and similar treatment, whiteness is a hell of a drug, so they're gonna keep moving toward it. But I'm not gonna let people, at least for me, they can take the whiteness. I'm gonna move toward collective liberation, because to me it's like, I don't know what other choice other than bury my head in the sand, which I'm not gonna do.
Right. Exactly.
Can we clone you? You're just so awesome. And
thank you.
We need more people like you, because too many people it seems like too many people are on the side of the orange Mussolini. And I think a lot of that is also, drummed up because they have those stupid bots and all of that stuff, and they're paying people in different countries to be maggots. And but at the same time, sometimes it's still hard to hope for that change, even though I see it and I know it's happening, but it's just, it's hard to sometimes hold on to that hope. And as much as people complain about the No Kings rally being centered around whiteness or something like that, I see it as a way of seeing a bunch of people waking up and saying, we choose to side with you.
Yep. I think that like first what the frustrating thing for me about the No Kings discourse is that, like, I know Black folks who are in like leading the charge to organize some of these. So my frustration with some of my fellow white leftists is their like this assertion that it's just white folks, which is, I think, erases a lot of the labor that Black folks put into this. Here in Atlanta, I can, where I live specifically, it has been very largely led by Black folks. But also it's like, okay, fine. Like I also have a lot of issues with the weekend Saturday protesters, like like celebration type protest. And how do we build a bigger base? It's like if I have an issue with it, then isn't it my responsibility to go and talk to those folks?
Yes.
To go there. And I mean, I spoke at a No Kings rally back in the fall, and I talked about Palestine, and I talked about disability justice, and I talked about U.S. imperialism, and these were issues that I think a lot of people in the audience maybe would think were too far, or they're not aligned. They're anti-Trump, but they're not aligned with that. And it's like but I feel like I have a responsibility to go and share my truth and my beliefs there, and then what am I doing with that then? Like, can I go out in the crowd and talk to people? Like, am I signing people up for, more political education and helping them find political homes where there is more of like a, for lack of a better term, again, like radical, approach to organizing. And like, that is how we build a bigger base. So I think like No Kings is a great opportunity for people to get their foot in the door, and then for us to be like, I'm so glad you did that. Now what are you doing?
Right.
Like, what are you doing that's not on a Saturday? What are you doing in your community? How are you holding people in your community accountable? What books do you want to read? Here, let me give you some books so you can read about how our issue with abortion bans is directly connected to our tax dollars being sent to bomb children in Gaza, right? Like I can then use that as an entry point for political education. But if I just sit at home behind my computer and complain, it's like that's a missed opportunity for me to do some real organizing and base building. So
that's the part that bothers me the most, is when I see the people complaining and they didn't even go, and they didn't try to say anything, they didn't try to set up anything. And it's like, valid to criticize it. Everything can be criticized. However, are you doing the work to fix those criticisms? Are you trying to make sure in a constructive way, not tearing people down, because nobody listens when you tear them down? Are you being constructive about your criticism? And also, a lot of Black people are organizing these things. And a lot of Black people are also not going to go, because when Black people are in any sort of march of any sort, we get police and we get the army, and we have guns in our faces constantly.
That's right.
So you're not going to see a lot of Black people at these rallies and such, because we want them to be seen as peaceful and successful. And as soon as a brown face shows up, more times than not, we get the police presence. That just ruins the whole thing. So it may seem like it's centering whiteness, but there's a reason.
Right. And it's like, it goes back to that, like, how are we using our white privilege? And I should be visible and on the front lines, because if shit pops off, like, we shouldn't be putting people in harm's way who are going to be impacted, in twice the amount than I am. So yeah, absolutely. There's so much nuance in all of the discourse around this that I think gets lost with all the sides. And like, I just keep going back to how do we reach our collective goals together? Because we share the same goals. Like, we don't want to live in an authoritarian country. We don't want trans people to be genocided. We don't want, everything. I think we mostly share the same goals. So like, how do we get there together? And everybody has to have a role, and not everyone's going to be like getting arrested. Not everyone's going to be able to be out there every night of the week, hunger strikes or chaining themselves to buildings or whatever it is. So like, what's everyone's role? And if we can come to that together and actually organize, like, we can do some really cool shit and get some and tear some of this stuff down and build something great. But it's the online discourse that like just it makes it so much harder for us to reach those goals.
Yep.
Yes, it does.
So I'm going to use that as a segue real quick. Outside of No Kings, what do you do? And you are the founder of the New Disabled South, a nonprofit organization, which I was looking it up. It's an awesome organization. Thank you so much for what you do. But can you kind of explain that and where that came from and how you came about opening that?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been organizing for like 16, 17 years now. And I've been the disabled person in a lot of organizing spaces. And I always felt like the disabled person, even though I'm sure there were other disabled folks there, maybe who didn't have the safety that I had to be able to be out. And also, I'm like visibly disabled as well. And so I kind of saw that and felt that our movements often were not very inclusive of disabled folks. Even like physical accessibility was hard to come by, and then just not even thinking about disability, as a intersecting issue in other movement spaces. So it started to make me think about how we have sort of like a connector in our movements with disability rights and justice, and with other movements. And then also within our disability ecosystem, there was a lot of really good work happening in the South, but people were not really talking to each other, and like there was not really a space to come together and share strategy. And so it started really as a way to both like bridge our movements, and then within the disability rights and justice movements, break out of silos and talk to each other. And so I just started to put pen to paper, and I never intended to like be the founder of an organization. And I have one of my master's degrees is in nonprofit leadership, but I wasn't necessarily looking for like to be a CEO of a nonprofit or whatever. Like, it was just I wanted this work to happen. And then I sat down with somebody I know who works for a funder, and I just like showed them my deck with my idea, my strategy, and I called it New Disabled South. And with no intention, I wasn't asking for money. I was just wanted to like, as a friend, be like, hey, here's what I'm doing. And like on the spot, she committed 2 years of funding to me.
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit, I actually have to do this now. And I was like senior advisor on a political campaign here in Georgia at the time. And I knew I wouldn't have a job, at the end of the year. So it really just, it made me like kick it into high gear, and like tapped a friend who was also working on that campaign, who had many years of operations and HR experience in the like movement organization space. And she's also disabled, and I told her about this and asked her if I could hire her. I was like, I have at least 2 years of funding for this one funder, so if nothing comes of this after 2 years, then at least we gave it a try. and then she, very quickly became my co-founder because I literally could not have built this without her. And it just, it's just scaled from there. And so we do that, like coalition building, breaking people out of silos, bridging the gaps in our movements, but also we do our own organizing across the South. We work in 14 southern states. We do policy advocacy, original research. We have like narrative change and storytelling work. We have a dedicated program around engaging faith communities around disability justice. And we really just I think maybe what sets us apart from other disability orgs is that we believe that every issue is a disability issue. So whereas a lot of disability orgs, or maybe most of the disability orgs, are looking at disability issues like as singular issues, we consider ourselves to be at the intersection of disability justice and like racial justice and queer liberation and climate justice and abolition and all the issues. And so like we talk about every disability issue through a racial lens, and we talk about and we get involved in other issues that aren't explicitly disability, and we talk about the impact on the disabled community. And so an example is like we were very involved in the fight to stop Cop City here in Atlanta, and that we were part of a coalition working to get the issue of Cop City on the ballot in the city of Atlanta so the voters could decide. And we were able to talk about the impact of what this police militarization mock city would have on not just the Black and brown folks who lived in that community, but on those who were disabled as well, and what destroying hundreds of acres of forestry would mean for disabled folks who are 4 times more likely to die in climate emergencies, and what it means for Black disabled folks to be impacted by militarized police, and how 50% of folks who face police brutality are Black disabled men. And so we got to be the disability voice in that, and so that's just one example of how we sort of look at the issues and the work. It's like, yeah, we deal with home and community-based services as an issue that we care about, because that's a disability issue explicitly, and we put out a report on Georgia's home and community-based services waiver waiting list that revealed that it is primarily Black disabled folks who are waiting for waivers for years and years, while more white disabled folks get waivers than Black disabled folks. And that is how we feel we can contribute to that work specifically, which most disability orgs in Georgia are working on, but they never took that racial justice lens, and that's a critical part of it. You can't talk about disability in Georgia without talking about Black disabled people who face extremely different circumstances than white disabled people, and it just is the truth. And people don't like that. The Department of Behavioral Health in Georgia did not like our report. That was their data that they gathered, that we got and analyzed and reported on. They still did not like it. But it's like, how can we effectively advocate for this issue if we don't talk about the reality? So anyway, that's a little bit about what we do in our approach to it.
And thank you.
Yes.
Because so many times a lot of people see disability as just this one thing, this one issue. And that might be the most pressing issue at the moment for a lot of people, and I don't dispute that. There are times when all I can think about is my disability. But at the same time, we have to talk about how it intersects with socioeconomic status. How does it intersect with Black and brown and Asians versus whites? How what happens to those people that are kicked out because they're disabled, or, the ones that get to stay? Marriage equality is a big one too. We think in terms of, well, everybody can marry now because there's no laws against it. But there is kind of a law against it because, people who are disabled and they collect Social Security can't marry each other because they'll lose it. That's a huge issue too that we have to think about. And, all of those things, fashion, matters, and all of it can come back to disabled people. And we have to talk about all of those aspects, because you can't just help in a silo. It never works. Just like, the justice that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was looking for wasn't just in a silo of black people. He also brought along the poor people of other colors, and, about jobs and about housing, because he knew that all of it combined is a horrible thing to deny people. And what better way to get everybody on board when you say, this isn't just our fight, this is your fight too. Because as we have to be, pushed down, guess who has to stay down there with us to make sure we stay down there? You do.
Yeah.
So if you want to rise, you have to let us rise with you, and we can bring you with us and make it better for all of us, so that it's not, well, you're lighter skinned than me, or you're darker skinned than me kind of crap. It won't matter. It shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be whether or not you can afford your insulin. It shouldn't be whether or not, your house is disabled enough for you. You know what I mean?
Accessible, yeah.
It's too small or accessible.
Yeah.
Thank you. And all of that intersects with everything.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's how we bring in more people too. We were doing some work to try to stop a gender affirming care ban in Georgia and a few other states we work in, but Georgia specifically I'm thinking about, because in that bill, the language that it used weaponized disability identity as justification for this bill, saying that because there's a large overlap between trans folks having an autistic identity as well, that was a reason why gender affirming care should be banned, because it's it's the disability identity was thrown into the language. And not only were there no other disability orgs talking about this gender affirming care ban, but also our partners who were doing this work in queer liberation and trans liberation spaces weren't talking about that disability identity. And to me, they go hand in hand. And so then we got to say, this is as much a disability issue as a trans issue, and vice versa, and help build a bigger base of people who care about this and want to stop this, and show legislators who quote unquote claim to care about disability, but are vehemently anti-trans, that this is disgusting to be anti-trans, and you're co-signing some ableism too, and you can't claim to care about disability if you do this. And I think it's one strategy for how we've been able to defeat some really bad stuff in not just Georgia, and it's not just us. There are many others who take that approach as well, but it's how you hold people's feet to the fire, these people with power, to be able to say this is also this community's issue, a community that you claim to care about. And that's a good way to spook them, because they really do at the end of the day care about staying in power. And if you can show them that there is a threat to that, they will, maybe less nowadays because they're more empowered to do awful things, but it used to be where that is a great way to stop them. So I hope that still works. We'll see these midterms, but
yeah. And it's just, but it kind of upsets me though that we have to do it in those terms. We have to. I don't understand how we can't think of the fact that everything is interconnected. We need disability justice for everything, because for instance, back to the 60s when Vietnam was happening and people were refusing to go for the draft, a lot of them, specifically black and brown, were labeled crazy and then institutionalized.
Yep.
Even though they weren't crazy, they just had a brain and knew that Vietnam was not worth it.
That's right.
But they were still institutionalized. So everything has to be through a lens of disability as well as racial, because at any given moment, your government can say you're disabled.
That's right. Yep. And then what happens to you?
Right.
Yep.
And, a lot of women were lobotomized because they had an opinion. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were sterilized because they had an opinion. Mm-hmm. So imagine if it was able to be done before. What makes you think they won't find a way to do it again?
Yep. Sure will. They always do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they're this stupid RFK Jr. tried to pull on, I can't remember the African country offhand, but he tried to do the, half the babies get the vitamin K shot and the other half don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we already went through that shit with the Tuskegee experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
we can't do that again. We can't do that to people. So I say, to remedy that, those anti-vaxxers should raise their hands.
I mean, if they feel so strongly about it, yeah. But you know what? So much of it's performative.
Right.
It's performative. It's yeah. My God, I can go on and on about the anti-vax stuff because that just. Whew.
Yeah, that bothers me greatly because there's a lot of people that are immunocompromised, and I don't know how you can sit there and say that your life is worth more than theirs. I mean, everybody's life is precious. Nobody's more than the others, but don't you dare say that they are not worthy of being protected, just like you are.
Yep. Because people care so much, unfortunately, about themselves.
Right.
And for a minute at the beginning of COVID, I thought maybe we were gonna come together and care about each other, and it looked good for about a week, and then when we didn't quote unquote flatten the curve in a week, then everybody was like, "This is too much for me. This is too uncomfortable for me." As maybe I'm naive, but I still have to believe that there are enough of us who care about our fellow humans that we can see a better world. I haven't lost hope yet.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's
possible.
Maybe in a year, I don't know.
I think it's happening because
I think it's possible.
we're realizing that it takes a village. It takes everybody's roles, and to feed and clothe and do hair and all of those things, because all of that together creates a civilization. And just deciding to be incredibly selfish does not do anything, doesn't help anybody, doesn't even help you. And so I think a lot of people are waking up to that rugged individualism that is America isn't working.
And sadly, I think a lot of people need to see it before they realize it's bad. They can't comprehend that it's really that bad without seeing it first.
Yeah.
But with that being said, we do need to start wrapping it up. Unfortunately.
It flew by.
Yeah.
It did. And first off, I really want to thank you for joining us. I mean, it has been a thorough pleasure, and I'm glad to meet you. And
You too.
And thank you for
can I have an
everything
autograph?
And thank you for everything you do between the New Disabled South, between all your writing, your advocacy. I mean, you're really out there and you're really helping all of us that need it. So thank you so much for all of that. And yes, thank you for joining us, of course.
Well, thank you for doing this podcast. It's so critical in this moment to just continue to tell stories and uplift these our community's issues, and y'all are doing the work. So I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. It means a lot.
Do you want to let people know where to find you, your organization, and anything else you want to put out there?
Yeah, you can find New Disabled South at New Disabled South, I think, on most of the platforms, and then I'm at @the_tattoo Jew on Instagram and probably Facebook. I don't know what the handle is on Facebook. And then I'm still putting out music and writing and stuff, so that's at dom-kelly.com is where you can find that stuff.
Yes.
I gotta check that out. I want to hear your music.
Hear your music
I
too.
haven't heard your music yet.
I just put out a new song actually that is on Spotify and all the things. It's called Crip Fuck, and just put it out like a month ago.
Nice.
So, I can't wait to hear that.
Real quick question I gotta know: what was it like meeting those big Indigo girls and stuff like that? I mean, was that a real dream come true type of thing, or was that just
at some point it doesn't stop being surreal. It at some point it stops being like oh my God, this is scary because these people are like famous. But early on it was like, I mean, I grew up listening to Indigo Girls. Probably our first mentors as musicians were Hootie and the Blowfish, and they were kind of the ones that gave us a start when I was about 12 years old when we started the band, and they became mentors, and like that was scary meeting them the first time, and then also being like, oh yeah, they're just like normal, they're just dudes. But Indigo Girls, you know, I was like 15 when I met them, and they took us out on tour and recorded, and they're like,
Wow.
you know, they're like family, and you know, they're just like wonderful human beings, and all these people that I've been fortunate enough to get to know and work with are just, they're just great people, and they care, and that's they use their platforms for good, and they're the reason. I mean, I credit Indigo Girls and Joan Baez and Toad the Wet Sprocket and all people, these people I've worked with who use their platforms for this stuff, for the reason why I'm doing movement work, because they've shown me that, like, you know, art goes hand in hand with that.
Right.
So they're just amazing, good people who happen to be phenomenal musicians at the same time.
Yeah, they are.
And for good reason to become successful. So
Are you still with your brothers in the band? It's still the same band as back then?
So I technically left the band,
Okay.
like officially about, I mean, I would say like a decade ago. I was like on my way out slowly, officially left 6 years ago, but then you're the first people you're getting an exclusive. We are actually gonna do a new record as a band this year.
Awesome.
Put it out hopefully next year. Just, you know, we're probably gonna do it under a new name. Our band was called A Fragile Tomorrow, but we're gonna probably do the project under a new name and make some new music. And I'm putting out a solo record at some point. So
awesome.
we're doing music again. Yeah.
Yay.
That's great.
Okay, so next time on Behind the Band, we will,
You'll hear all the juicy stories. I've got a lot of them.
that would be
right.
so awesome. And thank you
Yes,
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Othering Podcast by Mike and Dory. Please like and follow us on all of your favorite social media.
The Othering Podcast is produced by LoudCore Productions, graphics by Josh, and music by Jordy James.